Good morning, amazing people. So great to be here. I hope the coffee fill-up is good and the coffee is going down well. Hearing Helen's talking about flow, talking about team networks of flow, really awesome speech that's inspired me for this talk here now, having everyone in the room, the networks and the conversations that we're having out there. But really, we're going to talk to you about, we talk about this joy, right? This passion that comes from developer joy. And we put this developer experience message that, developer experience is it's the secret to unlocking developer productivity, right? And when we talk about developer productivity and the context of developer productivity, like how do you help unlock this productivity with this developer experience by bringing this joy back? So in this talk today, we're going to talk through 4 insights that we've had, and I really hope we can inspire or give you just examples, just give you from these 4 things, some things that you can take away and explore yourselves, ask more questions, and inspire you at this event today. So we're going to talk about the secret of unlocking that developer joy so that we unleash that productivity, and we're going to go through 4 insights that we will share with you today. So I'm Chris Davidson. I'm a solutions engineer at Atlassian. I work with our customers. I look at their ways of working, the flow of value to customers. How can we at Atlassian help your way of working to get that flow of value to your customers? I also, in my other job, I'm a part of a team that makes and creates all of our demo environments, all of the data, all of the configuration. We give it to all of our teams inside Atlassian, our partners, and then, of course, our customers as well to explore and use. A bit like a platform team, really, but more to come on platform teams. So this developer productivity question, the pressures and trends, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? We know you only have to look at the newspaper to see that, what is the global growth rate? What is the growth of companies? What is the, forecasted growth? And it's really struggling. It's struggling to get back up to pre-COVID levels. We've got this sort of pressure on leadership teams and boards to drive that growth, and it's struggling. But interestingly, at the same time, we've got, an increasing deployment. Over 53% of CIOs are deploying more technology. Yes, we'll say the A word in there as well. We know that's a big part of where that 53% is going. But you've got this interesting dynamic, right? You've got growth struggling in the economy, more technology, and that's going to drive a pressure. That's going to drive a pressure to say, I want more with what I've got. I need to show the benefit of this technology that I'm deploying. Where is that productivity coming from? And of course, we've still got, half of organizations hiring more talent, new people coming in, seeing that network slide of Helen's, like the complexity, the microservices challenge of potential dependencies. How are we going to get all this new talent up to speed and safely work on building value for customers? There's some really the sort of context of all these different trends that are happening out there is what's driving this developer productivity conversation. But actually, we have been here before. We've been here before. This conversation about productivity, and especially in the context of vast, impactful technological change and technology adoption, we've been here before. And I'm going to take us back a little bit like a time machine, but there is a story here. We are in post-war era Britain, and we're recovering from the war. We've got to get productivity up. We need productivity of our coal mines. We need to provide energy and steel and all of those things. So the coal mines need to be productive. At the same time, all the technology that we've now developed, we need to be applying that technology into our coal mines so that we get this productivity gain. And there's a key actor in this story. His name is Fred Emery. Now, you might not know Fred. He's actually a hero of mine. We have a lot in common. I say a lot in common. We were both born in Australia. Fred's from Western Australia. And we both traveled to London, England. We both came to England. Now, Fred, he's a He's a researcher around socio-technical systems. How do you put social, psychology, people, technical systems together? What happens when that goes on? And he's a leading researcher in it. I'm not a socio-technical researcher, just to say. I started my career, I joined a company called Symbian in London, making operating system for a mobile phone. I love being back up in the Nordic regions. So much love up here. I was in the systems engineering team. I don't want to say this, but I was a project manager at the time. I have had my teeth cut on developer experience from trying to work with kernel engineers who I love passionately and have been taught many a lesson by many an engineer as a time as a junior project manager. But Emery formed up with Bamforth and Trist. Awesome team. Bamforth was actually an ex-miner. So they've got this team and they're looking at what's happening, productivity gains, new technology, what's happening in these coal mines. Now, if it's okay, and I think it will be with this audience, if I can just geek out for 1 second so that you understand the story of what Fred Emery did, what he discovered, the insights on why we can use them today. In mining in the 40s and 50s, it was traditionally done in what was called the hand-gotten method. And the hand-gotten method, you'd think about a single coal face, a small coal face, that a single team would work against. And that single team, if I was to use our sort of speak, is a cross-functional team. You got someone in there cutting the coal, the person that does the cut. Then you've got someone working the roof to make sure that the roof stays up as the coal comes down. And then probably the most important, they say the most important person was the trammer. And the trammer is the person that's getting the coal, putting it in the tram and getting the coal out, the output, the value to the customer. Awesome stories around how these teams were formed in terms of how knowledge was shared, senior people to junior people, how the different skill sets would maybe merge and blur depending on the situation. And also how, coal's nature, right? Some coal's soft, some coal's hard, how these teams would set their own goals around how they would attack this particular coal face. But then along comes the longwall method. And the longwall method, hey, let's make that coal face a lot longer. Imagine we have a whiteboard here. I've drawn it's a big, long coal face. So let's make it much longer. And then what we'll do is we'll get all of the cutters and we'll just line all of the cutters up on the wall. And then we'll get all of the people doing the roofing, we'll put them in a wall. And then finally we'll get all the people collecting the coal. And we'll run this in 3 shifts. We'll run this as shifts, big waves of people. And we don't need to consider what's really happening with, say, how the goals are set of the team based on what's happening on the coalface, how the different roles are interacting and talking. We don't really need to think about that because we can look at the individual productivity metrics of each individual function that we're performing. And guess what? We have got some awesome tools. We've got amazing blasters that blast holes. We've got incredible travelers that move coal out. We've got all these awesome tools. We're going to throw the tools at the rolls and we're going to actually make this way more productive than this method here. Fred Emery and team, what did they actually find? Was it faster? Was it faster? They proved that in many cases it wasn't. When you assume 100%, like 100% operation of the longwall method in a laboratory type theoretical environment, sure, faster, they proved it wasn't. Secondly, what about the outcome to the customer? Did we get more coal out? Did we ship more coal? And the bottom line is that Emery proved in both quantitative and qualitative ways that no, in particular cases, the volume per worker was actually higher in the hand-gotten team-based method. And why was that? Why was that? And why is he my hero that I try and learn from when we're looking at your system of work and how systems of work and tools, socio things, like psychology and tools come together? Is because he identified a couple of things. Let's remember, that nice little picture up there of the coal mines, that's happening in a deep, dark, dangerous place, right? We talk about psychological safety and sort of human safety, the conditions that they're working in. We talk about those social bonds, communication and connection, motivation, morale. When we saw the long wall method, what the people designing that system with their obsession with the actual output metrics or the activity metrics didn't realize is that actually you were breaking apart that connection between information flow and knowledge. They found much higher staff absenteeism, much lower minor satisfaction and motivation. And the bottom line of that, in these mines, in these examples, 200 tons a day. So while the system on paper looks great and you can optimize every bit and get the awesome tools and give them the awesome tools, if the whole system doesn't work as a social construct, as a psychological safety, you're going to lose 200 tons a day. And that's what happened. And that's why they could prove it. I won't go into it now. You've allowed me to geek out enough. I really appreciate you letting me do that, but we'll bring some of the connections up into the story as we go through the four things as to how we can help developer experience improve productivity. But if you do want to geek out later afterwards, please come and see me, because the long wall method did actually survive. It did actually survive. It's going through its own little moment now with AI. Won't go into it now, but why did it survive, even given this insight from Fred? That's one for the bar later. Really love to tell the story there. But in short, Fred proved the productivity benefits of thinking holistically about your systems. And that's important as we come to why developer experience, is that, developer experience, we've got to take that holistic view, and we've got to be cautious and very intentional about how we use our metrics, our data, and our productivity measures. There is many ways. Like how do we, so we're going to go on this process of measuring productivity. How are we going to do it? Many ways to do it. The classic lines of code, right? Probably enough of that one said. Maybe we could think about, hey, issues to done. We're getting into flow, measuring flow, done. Perhaps, potentially, maybe we could get into sort of the story points. Everyone's got the same size story points. Another fairly tricky area, T-shirt sizes. We do know that when we talk about cycle time, that's a really important thing when we think about value to customer, right? Developers, the joy that comes from seeing your stuff being used by customers, seeing joy of customers, hopefully the joy of customers when we release our things, our products. And finally, deployment frequency, back to that flow to customer, right? All of these are potential areas for us to look at in terms of how we can measure our productivity. But I think I saw it in one of Helen's quotes. It's we are talking about a multi-dimensional metric, multi-dimensional picture here that we've got to bring together. And because it's multidimensional, we like to say, it's all about helping developers to be more productive. That's what we're really here for. Help developers be more productive. They know their craft. They're at the coalface. They know. And, talk about a statistic, developers love their craft. We think about open source projects. Bit of a story there as well. My story at Symbian, I joined the Symbian Foundation and open source Symbian, and open source is a whole topic of discussion I won't go into now, but 430 million contributions in open source projects. It would be safe to say many are done in developers' own time, developers' own commitment and engagement. That's amazing passion. They love their craft. We should just be embracing how we unlock that joy. And that's really what we're about, is like, how do we unlock that joy? Because if we do that, we'll get to the productivity. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to say, how do we get to focus on developer experience being the right thing? How do we make this true so that we can get that organizational performance enhancement? And we know that the pressures, we saw those trends earlier on, constrained growth, increasing technology investment, huge expectations on things like AI. There is going to be a demand on us for the continuing future to show that productivity. And we know from Dora, the Google research, that if you get it right, if your culture, very clear. I sometimes think with Dora that people, especially in the wrong hands, they see the measurements, they see the activity number, people can make assumptions. Huge element, as I'm sure many of you know, is about the culture. Generative culture, they call it. Generative culture, psychological safety, and of course, the proof, the insight, the evidence of visibility of metrics. But that's what we're aiming for. So how are we going to get there? And how am I going to hopefully inspire or give you some things to think about for today when you go back and actually put into action or think about and discuss with colleagues and teams? We're going to move on to the four insights, 4 ways we think that you can really help unleash that developer joy, lead to developer productivity. The first one, we think about our teams that Fred Emery was discussing, right? Empower teams, right? When you're working away as a team and you're close to the work, you have the best knowledge. You have the best knowledge to make decisions. And how do we trust you or help empower you? It is the foundational point to developer joy is empowering teams. And there is no simpler way to do it than to simply ask your developers. So, at Atlassian, we've been using a simple 8-step method. And it's like, how do we I keep coming to this broad, like social technical connection. How do we ensure we're getting that broad coverage so we don't make those mistakes of aiming in on a particular metric and getting led off the wrong path? We have this 8 steps. Think about speed to ship quality code, good stuff to customers at good quality, not coming back to be fixed. Waiting time, the bane of all developers' life. I'm sure there's some research here that I've seen some of our colleagues do that the waiting time really is the thing that drives developers around the loop. So how do we address that? Execution independence. If you enable and empower the team that have the right knowledge, the right tools, how independently they can execute is going to increase developer joy. It's going to increase productivity. Access to tools, processes, and practices. I sometimes think this one, access should just be to the right amount of tools, processes, and practice. We'll talk a little bit about process down the track, but like access to tools, processes, and practices, being enabled. External standards, particularly when we talk about compliance and security and things like that. And increasingly, we're seeing that go further into the stack. It's getting closer, more cognitive load, more jobs to be done, more load on developers, more things that can be friction to slow us down from being productive. And, optimizing how we ship code, our pipeline, our infrastructure, and ramp up time. We saw that we've got new people joining an organization, complex environments. How can we help them be enabled more quickly, more easily, safely, giving them that psychological safety from the start? And ultimately, how do you feel? Ask your developers, how do you feel, and get that discussion going, like some of the discussions we're having here today. So 8-step process, we ask developers these questions, and then simply we look at, okay, how are people thinking in terms of their satisfaction? Where are they in terms of, highly satisfied, less satisfied, but actually, as a team, as an organization, given our goals, what is the importance of each of these? Because we all know there's always a list way longer than you will ever get to. And so by putting this stack rank, we can start to get a picture of our importance, our satisfaction, where we've got like high satisfaction, kind of good on our importance levels. That's great. Maybe want to draw some attention to where our importance is a little high, but our satisfaction is low. That could be a good target. Take one thing at a time, pick a thing, focus on it, set a goal, improve it. That is a developer experience survey. That practice, that play we've just put there, it's available on the team playbook publicly for everyone. Recommend you jump in. Really easy play, really powerful. So we've got to empower our teams. We've given them a survey. We've given them an insight. But, there's something like this leadership conversation. I was actually just having it with Mark, the leadership conversation, right? Because it is about teams. But if we take Atlassian, for example, we got a new CEO some time back, Rajiv. He's written a lot about this topic as well. But I think that the sort of impact that leadership has to help create the environment for great developer experience, great developer joy, it has to be helped from the top. Now, in Rajiv's case, as a leader, as a commitment, he has come in and we have a company level goal that says we're going to spend 10% of developer time capability on improving developer experience. Now, there's another great Aussie systems thinker, a guy called Ray Iverson, and I love something he says. Talks about being responsible. Oh, right, developers, you are responsible for productivity. You are responsible for going faster, better quality, safer, secure. You are responsible. There's a big part of that word called able. You need to be response-able. And we really think that you need leadership to help with that job of making teams able to be responsible. And that's a really powerful thing at Atlassian. And it's no simple thing. And I can imagine there's people sitting out there today, which is, I'm here at this conference. I should be fixed. I've got questions, issues coming from teams. I've got, all this work on my plate of just keeping the lights on, or indeed, delivering new capabilities. And then on top of that, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in that 10% of developer capability. And that is what we're doing. And it is a whole of business motion. It's a bit like going to the gym. You've got to get fit at the start. But once the business starts to work, we can really connect goals. We can increase joy. That joy can lead to productivity. And so we do this in a really simple method. We just label our work. We label it. We use some automation rules to connect that labeling up across all different work as it grows. And then in sort of thinking about some of the things Helen said, you've got to have the insights. You've got to make the data visible. It's going to be important with how we talk to leadership, keep leadership on board. What we're looking at here is just a really simple chart. We call it buckets of work. So buckets of work, we've got, change the business, run the business, developer productivity, make it visible. Be responsible, able. Okay, that's the first thing. Empower teams. Most important thing. Second thing, remove friction. How do we remove friction? So we know that the shift towards cloud for Atlassian itself has been a real journey. Multi-million line monolith applications broken down into microservices, velocity, change, increasing. It's a huge cognitive load and a huge load shifting left, as we said, all the things that developers have to think of, libraries, services, security. It's a huge cognitive load. Atlassian today, 22,000 odd services we're tracking in our application. How do we get to that point? 22,000, how do you manage that safely and securely? Thinking of some of the things I heard earlier, just about the dependencies, right? Dependencies can be such a challenge, and discoverability, especially if you've got new people starting. So at Atlassian, we set up, spreadsheets, component names, service owners. We created more spreadsheets. And, as we learned that, spreadsheets is not the way forward for everyone to reduce friction, a sort of coming together of building from spreadsheets into tools. The services was called Micros. So we built an app called Microscope, and Microscope is actually a way of finding out, a sort of a platform capability is built. It's actually become a thing called Compass. You can see it outside. What we're looking at here is a component library, and that component library allows you to see things like dependencies between components. So it really was that coming together, and you can see the components, you can connect those to work. So you're looking at the actual software components, connecting that to work in Jira. So it really was that internal service, the creation of that platform capability for team members, discoverability, onboarding time, dependency management. We call it self-service dependencies, self-service documentation, really helps productivity. Removing complexity. Now, when we talk about complexity, this is our third insight of how we try and help really promote developer experience, developer joy. We think of complexity in two different ways. We think of it as work-based complexity. This is the software that I am writing, the work that maybe the software I'm compiling, the thing that I'm working on. Then there's the business complexity, which is much more the organizational complexity, the network of teams, the processes, the practices that we have to do to get things done. And in this world that we live in today, that complexity is only getting higher. So if we think about work complexity, business complexity, from a team-based perspective, we've got our empowered teams. The way we like to think about it is from a routine task, work perspective. Can you please help just get rid of that repetitive work? I need to be focused on creativity, on getting hard, gnarly problems solved. Remove those routine tasks. Give me someone or something to help with that repetitive work. And equally, maybe there's some things that I don't know so much about in our team. Maybe it's like software licensing or some kind of marketing, branding terms that we need to be building in our products and applications. We need capabilities from other teams. So we sort of think about it as assistants that help take away the toil, the repetitive work, and specialists, those people that can give us new knowledge. And, you probably may have seen it, but Atlassian we talk about AI agents, Rovo agents, your virtual team member. We've held off with the AI word, but it's a big part. We all know it's there, but we're working a lot on it. I can share some of what we're doing and hope to share a lot more about the impact that it's having and how it's working. So we've got agents, many different types of agents. One of my personal favorites that I use regularly when we're building our demo environments, we use this capability particularly for a planning process, but it's like Jira backlogs. You've got lots of things in your backlog. How much time do you need to spend to either go through and understand it? Using the Jira theme analyzer, what we're going to have here is just a very quick sort of demo of I'm in Jira and I'm going through my backlog, but instead of me having to read and order and, archive old things and move things together, I've just got a very simple readout here that's organizing my themes into orders. And I can even then say to my helper, can you just put the assignees on these as well? Starting to build up a table. So it's all that toil of digging into the backlog is being sorted. And then, most importantly, we need to make it visible. So let's get it out there. Let's put it on Confluence. Could you put it on a Confluence page for me? Fantastic. Love your help, Rovo. And then we have our Confluence page. But then we know that not every person or team member might be in Jira or Confluence at the time. So to stay in flow, could we actually connect that virtual agent into our automation flow, bring that team member into our automation flow so they can help us stay in flow? And we'll drop our agent into an automation flow and send that information out to Slack. So I don't have to switch, I don't have to context switch, I can stay in Slack, and I can be informed. I might be getting active feedback from my customers and helps team members understand where to focus their time and effort for the most important thing. Removing friction with a little bit of help from AI. Okay. So we've been talking a lot about social connection with technology to get productivity gain and to get developer joy. The fourth of our insights now is in establishing clear rituals, the interactions, human interactions. And what's awesome about the rituals is that we can think about that balance of quantitative and qualitative measures. If we're to avoid that pitfall of going down that single productivity metric, we need to have that holistic view of qualitative and quantitative measures. We need both. And one awesome one that Atlassian software teams use is what we call CheckOps. It's a weekly routine. It's a weekly routine to help teams be responsible for their components. And the way that this works allows us to sort of balance, we obviously, what we're looking at here is we're getting metrics, DORA metrics, for example. We're looking inside our component library, we can see the health, the DevOps health metrics coming through automatically. So we've got information at a quantitative measure, but then also we've got the sort of qualitative approach. And so CheckOps is actually built into the software. It's something that I am really proud of about Atlassian, that it's the connection of social and technology, and built into the application is this ability to run a weekly practice that asks the team, ask your empowered teams, ask them, how are they feeling? What went well? What could have gone better? How can we improve? What goals do we need to set for ourselves? You are empowered. And then that obviously can be made visible as well. It's a CheckOps play. It's available. It's on the team playbook. We'll have the link up afterwards. Super awesome play. Really great routine. Really keeps the team connected as well. Let's think about one practice where we sort of scale up. We've talked about weekly checkups, sorry. But what about when we think about organizing ourselves around goals, right? Goals are really important, and planning to achieve goals is important, sometimes difficult because things are always changing. But we talk about what we call it rolling four, and it's a heartbeat for planning and connecting to goals. And essentially, how does rolling four work for us? So this is the process where we really do try and align to goals at both our team level and also see how our team level connects up to our organizational level. So the first thing we do, and you've got to remember planning, when we spoke earlier about the developer survey, we spoke about what's the right amount of process, something that we want to give to unlock developer joy and experiences, not pull developers too much into process if it's not needed. We must all stop and plan for this long, every quarter, irrespective of who you are, we all stop and plan. At Atlassian, we've had some real experiences there because sometimes things change a lot and sometimes they don't. And so in cases where they don't, how do we help teams to just truck on and keep focused and stay in flow? And whereas if we do need to plan, well, then let's get together and let's plan and interlock dependencies and do all of that goodness. So the way we do it is we start with an annual plan. We look at the year. And then we set out our quarters, but we actually try and aim only for the first quarter or first 2 quarters, typically, of strong dependency interlock, strong detail and robustness in our planning. We do have a picture for the rest of the year, but it's at a lower level of confidence. And then each quarter, we call it the rolling four. It's a cadence, it's a routine. Each quarter, we go and adapt that plan. And we adjust, we respond, but only if we really need to as well. Because as I say, the real secret on this, you're not pulling everyone into planning. So you can stay in flow. And it's a habit. It's a habit. It's a habit for teams and a lot of conversations about things like dependencies, but it's also a habit for leadership and the organization. Coming back to that, being response-able. What's leadership's role in helping our empowered teams be productive? So when we talk about updating the org inside Atlassian, it starts with, connection to goals. So make all of our company goals highly visible, really important. We spoke about Rajiv's 10% for developer experience. How much are we investing into it? Are we doing it? Are we achieving it? Make it all visible. Simple compliments page. I've obscured a few details here because you don't want to get into all the nitty gritty, but what you can see here genuinely, welcome to Atlassian. This is a space I look at a lot. This is just the connection. Rajiv's top level goal, one goal, really important point. Another side conversation, how many goals should leaders have? One goal, number of results, and you can bet your bottom dollar in there is the results for developer experience made highly visible. And when we say visible, it's really important. We talk about developer joy, we talk about developer experience. We know, humans, reality, all of us pretty much will invest our effort for the maximum return. When we're wired to be able to get the maximum return for the least amount of effort. You need to be seeing progress. You need to be seeing the impact of your work. You can't set and forget. If you are able to see the progress you're making, be visible, celebrate it, it will motivate, it will give more joy, and you'll get closer towards the goals that you've set. What we're looking at here is just a very simple way of looking at goals inside Atlassian and seeing the updates on those goals, regular updates and connection to goals and sub-goals. The relationship of you to the organization. But the organizational cadence, it's the connection of the goals, but really where it starts when we talk about rolling four is each quarter, it starts with State of Atlassian. And each quarter, our CEO will send out a page, and on that page, obviously the page is sometimes quite big, sometimes not so big, but importantly, they'll give their thoughts on the business. They will really talk about the goals we're trying to achieve, that page I showed earlier, how we're tracking on them, keeping them visible, celebrating progress, talking about where we might need to change, right? Focus areas. Where do we need to pivot and adapt? Do you need to do planning or not planning based on this change? How do we respond to this change? And then importantly, like what's next? Where are we going? This is the empowering of teams, right? The leadership system is invested in developer joy, developer experience, because they know it will get to developer experience. We'll talk about the outcomes in a moment. But then just to finish off on the state of Atlassian, it's a simple video. It's a Loom video that gives human connection, voice. It's short, it's sharp, it's snappy. Everyone gets to hear from the leader and be in context, and then take that away as an empowered team and apply it, just like we saw our mining teams apply it in the best context, given what they're facing to achieve the goals. That's empowering of teams, and that's how we're going to hit our productivity objectives. So, having said all this, these 4 things, empowering teams, removing friction, complexity, and, implementing practices and the ways of working. For us, yes. When Rajiv first came on, that survey that I showed at the top, we were getting about 49% satisfaction, that vast move into microservices, complexity, finding documentation, dependency, independence to execute. 49% of developers across the organization were satisfied. We've seen that go up. It's up. I think we do it every, we do our surveys once a month. A really key point there, like it'd be interesting to talk maybe afterwards, like what frequency do people do or find value from developer surveys? But no, satisfaction is very much up, maybe also attributed because it's backed as well by that support if you've got the 10% time to make a difference. And deployment frequency. Some of our shared components up 300%. Things are going really fast. Gives us joy, gives our engineers joy when we can see teams hopefully helping many of you here as well to achieve your goals thanks to the help of the Atlassian capabilities. And it's not just us. I've been telling a lot of Atlassian stories here, not just us. 78% of organizations do have a formal developer experience initiative. We've got, we think about like 58%, that's over half of the C-suite, say, developer experience is invested. If we think back to that, low growth, big investment in technology, wanting the return, it has got the ear and it has got the attention, rightly, of the C-suite, and we've got to make the most of that. And then finally, 86% of organizations will have a platform team by 2026. And I've seen some of the speakers here too, really awesome platform conversations coming up here today. So takeaways, you do need that data to influence leadership, to invest in developer experience. They've got to make teams response able, qualitative and quantitative, just like we saw with Fred Emery. You've got to look at the social, the psychological, and the technology together in a whole, and don't get taken down just one course. You need those consistent rituals, meaningful consistent rituals, and we want to empower teams. Got to empower teams. That's where the joy comes from. That's where the craft comes from, and we're going to deliver awesome outcomes for customers, great products, great services by unleashing developer joy, leading to productivity. I mentioned it earlier, the team playbook. A lot of those plays are free. Jump on, have a look, have a chat outside. Thank you very much, everyone. You've been an awesome audience. Thanks for listening to my stories. And mate, as we would say in Australia, have a great day. Thank you, everyone.